You know what else Dead Space has?
What?
That can also help in your immersion is a good UI.
Yeah, it does. And
Actually,
that's a really
and
good
you know what?
immersive segue.
That is an immensely good segue, and you're
Way
absolutely
better
right.
than meta.
It's because you ruined it, Obs. You asked me, you just said, "Are you doing a segue?" And I was like, "Well, thanks." Now it's not going to be a segue
I know.
anymore.
I'm sorry. You'll have my Sudoku notice in the morning.
You guys have ruined mine by just talking about it.
So sorry, Mal. So sorry.
So sorry, Mal. Look, if I can't have a good thing, you can't have a good thing, Mal.
No. So, yeah. I wanted to talk to you guys about UI because I've seen a lot of people talking about it lately on Twitter. It seems to be a pretty popular topic in gaming circles right now. People are, just it's weird. I don't know where it came from. Maybe there's a game that just came out that had like a really sleek UI. I've seen a lot of people talking about Control lately. I don't know if that's the case with that game. I haven't really looked into it that much. But, user interface. Enough like immersion and stuff, it's a way you can either really be taken out of the game or really immersed into it. And just like sound design, it's if you don't like notice it, usually it's a good thing. You don't want it to be jarring and really take you out of the game. So I'm just curious, what are some of your guys' favorite UI you've seen that you come across? Anything that stood out to you that was pretty unique? And even if you got some examples of bad stuff, it'd be like a cool thing. We've never really talked about UI. It's kind of like a big game design thing. So,
Actually, you know what? From the UI is actually is pretty overlooked. Just like sound and music sometimes, but it's even more so. UI is a really hard area to do right. You'll see it a lot now in games where games will tend to have their UI actually fade out, like your health bar and your abilities and whatnot will actually fade away when you're not in the combat, so that you can see everything that's
Yeah,
going
I
on.
was going to say minimalist UI is definitely something that's grown, larger and larger, and that people want and devs are making.
It's but to be fair, is you've only got so much real estate, so to speak, to work with on a screen. So that is why UI has gone the way it has. I can't think off the top of my head personally of a UI that's truly wowed me today, because it's not just like the screen of where you're actually playing the game. There's also the menus that you go through when you're in like the pause menu and whatnot and going through stuff. And I mean, there's only so smooth you can get with that. But I would say if there was a UI I enjoyed, it would have had to have been Halo 2 or 3. Their UI was really good for the time.
I mean, Halo's always had good UI,
Yeah.
particularly like with the gun. You could see like your ammo just on the back of the gun.
Oh, yeah.
The HUD is very like unintrusive. Everything's opaque, like your health meter, your shields. You can in FPS you want to be able to see everything,
Yeah, I was gonna say having a good UI is very important to games that prioritize gunplay. I think I was actually gonna say one of my favorite is Destiny, which made by the same
company. Yeah. Well, maybe not the same people, but definitely.
Or company at least.
Company, sure. Yeah. They had really something going for it, and it's not even just like the actual like gameplay menu either. We're not talking about just that. I'm talking about like even like their options UI when you're going through the medals. It's very simple. There's not a lot, but you know exactly where you want to go to for that UI. Everything is very clearly labeled. You know where you need to go. If I click on this, I'm going to get these options. These are the obvious ones that should be here. If I click on this, I'm going to get these options. These are the obvious ones that should be here. I never had a moment when I was playing any of the Halo games before Bungie kind of stopped working on them. But there was never a point where I was playing Halo games during that time period where I ever went into a menu and was like, why the hell is this here? Or it's like, this just seems really weird to be in this spot. And I do question that sometimes in games nowadays. I'm like, why is this even, sometimes I even question, like, why is this even an option for something? Like, why is this option even in here? Why do we have like a subsection that has one option for it? Why is that not just in another thing? And I think
trying to find subtitles, I think it's better now, but a lot of older games, like, where is it going to be? Is it going to be in general? Is it going to be in audio?
Yes. Oh, that's a really good example. Yeah, for the longest time, dude, that was a gamble. You didn't know where you're gonna have to go for that bad boy. It was gonna be somewhere. You just had to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, I see it a lot in audio now, which I feel is the most appropriate area where subtitles should be.
Just where you want your volume, and you want your subtitles. Pair them together.
Yeah, that is absolutely, and language options. I've sometimes, like, for a lot of older games, sometimes this where you would have to go to to a different menu to get to language. It wouldn't be an audio. You would have to go to language. There would be a literal language. I'm like, why is that not an audio? You've only got 3 things in your audio menu. Just put it underneath there. That's an audio thing. It's an audio type thing. You want to change the voices? They're just going to be Japanese now instead of English or whatever. So I mean, that's all you really needed.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten better over the years for it, but I don't think I've seen a game that's really wowed me currently. Although I will say Final Fantasy VII's concept.
Oh yeah, those menus look great.
Woo! Those look on fire.
Yeah, those are very
RPGs are another very important. I'd say FPS and RPGs are probably the game tops that are probably the most important.
Yeah.
RPGs just because you're looking in menus for most of the game, more so if they're turn based.
I think we could just talk about our favorite, or probably our favorite.
My favorite for sure, Persona 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just completely game changing.
That UI is 100% on brand and is just oozes style.
Yeah, it is completely. It fits with the themes of the game. You got old punk rock style posters and
even the layout and the design choices they made for the icons within the UI are spectacularly done for the game.
Yep.
I love when you're talking to a vendor and then you tell them you want to buy something and they'll go to their pose. And then it'll the background will be cut I don't know what the word is for it, but
a cross cut or a diagonal cut or something.
The color will shift to the actual inventory of what you're buying, and then I don't know how to
transition
exactly. Yeah, the transition is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the details that really make a game great, though. I mean, that's where the money lies in that.
Mm-hmm. It's the little weird thingies that people
but they absolutely matter.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. They matter so much because any game, you can have a great action game, it can play well, but if your UI and the is kind of jarring or taken of it, it just reminds you that every time you have to go through a menu, you're gonna have to sift through some crap to get to what you want, or you might have to find something. And it's ironically enough, to bring it back around to Mao's topic, it will pull you from your state of immersion.
Mm-hmm. It's weird that we found some commonality between these two topics.
Because that's but when you're going into game design, it's from a broad scope. These are very clearly all aspects that both help and hinder one another. If your sound design is great, but your menus suck, your game looks awesome, but the gameplay is crap, then at the end of the day, you've got a mediocre game. I mean, you can only rise so high as you go. But when you start getting into games like Persona 5, where everything is crafted with purpose and attention to detail, where menus come up and everything looks appropriate for the characters, the art style, the text boxes, the action icons, when they're all feeling very appropriate with the game, it's really well done. And those kind of UIs, when they're fitted so well to the game and the type of game that you're playing, as well as crafted to the style that the game wants to portray, that makes for a really good UI as well.
Yeah, I do think it's pretty important. And with all the exploration games, or Breath of the Wilds is really good, and it is can be as minimal as you want. Being able to turn off everything and just roam is really good.
Mm-hmm. I love having customization options too.
Options are never bad. The more you let players choose how they want to play the game, the better it becomes.
Yeah,
and on a general scale.
Because the mini map is also another point of contention for people's immersion. I've seen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And being able to turn that off just really can help, or just really takes it to another level for those people.
A lot of people want that mini map gone, and I think the option should be to turn it off. I think anything on an UI, if nothing else, should be customizable. What you want to show up there should be absolutely customizable. I think, and this is something I see a lot that a lot of people fail to do. changing the UI's colors as well is something that's very important, and that's mostly for people who have like a level of color blindness or whatever.
Yeah.
That is something that I see games to this day fail to take into account, and it's like, why? There's no reason that you can't program color into it. It not only allows, again, more options for the player to design the UI the way they like it, but it also allows for people who normally might have issues playing the game to be able to play it better.
Mm-hmm.
Allow them to turn off a certain health bars, allow them to turn off mini maps and stuff like that. They have to allow them to open up menus differently is how they see appropriate, because that all those kind of things not only shows that your UI, not only does it show as a developer that you thought about players and the desire to have a UI and a menu system customized to their tastes, but you've created a UI and have put time and attention into it for players. It shows. People will remember that. It's why I remember Halo so fondly for its UIs, because it did it so well for the time that it was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I've seen
anything for Persona 5.
I've seen a lot of people talk about Dead Space, which if you've ever seen anyone play it, it's also really neat. It does something. It does stuff a lot like Halo does, like your health bars on like your suit.
Yes.
It's like the little meter. He has like the projected menus that he pulls up, and you actually see him like pushing stuff and like flicking stuff around. Like
it's almost like a touch screen type effect to it.
Yeah,
yeah. It's all
really cool looking.
It's all in universe.
Yeah.
As opposed to something like Breath of the Wild, where you can't. It's third person for one, or not even third person. Just the way you're just so removed. You have no. There's no way to like show a health bar as Link would see it, right?
Yeah.
You're just too removed from that sort of information.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas Dead Space, you're in this like highly technical suit and on this advanced spaceship, so it all works together.
Yeah, it works out very well, and it's done very well, and it shows. The UI was, I think, if I remember correctly, reviews did give praise to the UI for Dead Space for how creative it was in displaying information to players, so that you were never truly pulled away from what mattered most, which is the world that you're currently in.
Mm-hmm.
Man, yeah, UIs are very important. Is there a UI that you guys did not like? What's a game that you can think of that you just thought was a terrible UI? Because I've been sitting here for like the past 15 minutes trying to think of something. I'm
trying to think of one off the top of my head, and I can't really. I don't like the base WoW UI actually, but that's more of a style thing. I don't like really having criticisms of it heavily per se. I just prefer I prefer like modding the UI in that game.
I'll say this right now. I actually did not like the WoW UI, because if you went, so like, here's the thing. If you go to play Final Fantasy 14, they really don't have add-ons. So they've gone out of their way to make a lot of what you can do with the UI customizable. There's tons of option menus. Some of them are not all that well categorized, unfortunately, but there's tons of options and menus that choose to customize just about everything you can see in the game in the UI for all for informational upload. When I went to play World of Warcraft when BFA launched, I just played it originally without any add-ons. It just wasn't going to get in the game that much. I knew that from the start, so I saw there's no reason to download add-ons. That was a mistake. You can't do like anything with the default UI, and that's both a bit ridiculous and just a little bit depressing that like this many years in the future and World of Warcraft still has like a really shitty base UI that you need add-on to play this game properly, which, mind you, most of the add-ons don't look that great. They're very dated as well.
Yeah. I see a lot of people saying, I just like Googled some stuff. A lot of people are saying the Bethesda games are particularly bad. I forgot how bad Dissidia, the new one looks.
That's a perfect example of that is a tragedy. That is a tragedy going on right there.
Yeah, it does not. Yeah, Dissidia just looks kind of cartoonish. Maybe is the right word.
Even this, like the original, the PSP ones,
was not bad.
They weren't that bad at all. It was mostly like the stuff on the bottom. It was like a few numbers and like health bars.
Yeah. But see, like the problem with this game is that it has so much information that you need to know about. You need to know that there's a time limit to the match. You need to know that like you have when you're like, because like all this stuff is related to the game, but the problem is there's so much going on. The bottom right, you have like all your shortcuts for like talk, speech in game and whatnot. The bottom left, you have what's your character's giant fucking face in front of you at all times. If you don't know what character you're playing, you might forget. You have 3 special abilities that you can use that are passive abilities. You need to see your allies' health and see like they have both a bar as well as the health for that bar. You need to know what their attack values are. At the top of the screen, you have the timer, and then you have the bars of how many times you can die before it's completely depleted and the match ends. The top right, if you beat somebody and you knock away all their bravery points, you get that bonus added to your bravery points, which as you can see are still back down at the bottom at the center of the screen. And then you have your opponents up front of the right. This is a lot of information to be taking in all at once. For a 3D
fighting game where you need to see everything.
Yes, it's a lot of information.
And a mini map.
Yes, there's actually...
He's got a mini map on there too.
Let's go to the mini map real fast here. If you notice these little lines pointing towards like certain objects away and from you with like numbers designated on them, those numbers designate who they are. If you notice the numbers next to your players down below, designate who they are on the map. And then you have the line saying who they're currently targeting, both friendly and enemy. And then you have your little light arrow, like your light indicator to show you like which direction you're facing so that you have an idea of where you're looking, as if you could forget. It's just, there is so much going on this screen right now. And you can see it off in the distance, but in the actual background.
Can't even take in Midgard.
No, you can't. You can't even see freaking Midgar over there. You can look that the actual characters have like the statistics above them as well. They have like their stats and whatnot right above.
They do. Oh god.
So not only are you seeing things on the right side, but you're actually seeing like the bars they have.
Oh, it's awful.
As well. It's pretty wretched. Playing that game in and of itself is also a big tragedy.
Just
but
sad.
like it's very like I will say this right now. If you're trying to pick up this game, don't first off. But if you're really that dedicated to the game, I would say learn to just read a lot of information on the screen at all times, because that's generally going to potentially win you fights more than being technically good at the game itself. Because if you know who to like hit or to go after with your allies, that can potentially save you more than anything else. There's just a lot going on. The camera is often pretty zoomed in, pretty close to your character as well, so you really can't see a lot that's going on. This game is a travesty of a UI for a modern day age. And I know, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, it started off as an arcade cabinet game, that's really not an excuse. That's just makes it worse, in fact. It's like arcade cabinets and console games nowadays are pretty much akin, okay? This is a really bad example of a modern game that has a terrible UI.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not how you do it.
Good talk, guys. Good talk.
Good talk. Good talk.
Good talk. Nice. We all just kind of talked about stuff.
Yeah, we did.
Nice.
You know, like a podcast where you just talk about things.
I don't like it. Let's switch it back up to just one person talking.
Here's our historical reenactment of the the Battle of the Bulge.
Put that in the background. So we're being sieged upon the Western Front. I did like a kind of a weird European accent with that. I think it was American Civil War, wasn't it?
I think it was the Revolution. I can't remember.
Oh, was it the Revolution?
I don't remember what was the Battle of the Bulge. We're becoming a history podcast. We don't know anything about history. We're learning.
I know it's either Revolution.
I'm pretty sure we know more about L5.
That was World War II. We were completely off. We were Yeah, I think I know more about historical battles from Rokugan than I do our actual real life world. The Battle of White Stag, the Night of Falling Stars.
Just edit that part out.
No, we gotta embarrass ourselves.
Shame will live on.
My shame is gonna live on.
My Sudoku request will be in triplicate in the morning.
I'm gonna be sending in my Sudoku by 3 tomorrow.
You'll have all of our Sudoku letters. All right, this has been episode 91 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech, and certainly not real-world history. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube with full video releasing on Friday. Check us out on Twitter, Podcast5R, Facebook, P5R Podcast, Meta and Lily Stream, twitch.tv/PSO Flow, and Tets's blog, Geeky Spirit, and all that good stuff. And I don't know what to say. I'm tired and I want to go to sleep.
Just turn it off.